Marvel Cinematic Universe spans 14 billion years of fictional history. Every film, every series, every post-credits scene is a single piece of a timeline so vast, it takes an entire night to walk through properly. And most people have never seen the full picture. They've seen the movies, sure. They know the characters, but they don't know how deep it goes. They don't know what was happening before the Infinity Stones existed. They don't know what Tony Stark's father was actually doing during the Cold War, or what the 10 Rings were doing for 3,000 years before Iron Man ever appeared on screen. They don't know the war that happened before any human civilization was old enough to name it. If you leave this video right now, you miss all of that. This is the complete MCU, from the beginning of the universe to the Multiverse Saga. Get comfortable. There is a moment before the MCU, and it is infinite darkness. Not the poetic kind, the literal kind, a total absence of matter, energy, and time. Then something happens. The universe begins, and in the first seconds of its existence, something extraordinary occurs that will shape every story ever told in this fictional cosmos. 6 singularities emerge. These are not objects. They are not weapons. Not yet. They are raw concentrations of primordial power, each one representing a fundamental aspect of reality: space, mind, reality, power, time, and soul. They predate stars. They predate planets. They predate life itself. In their raw form, they are incomprehensible, because nothing yet exists to comprehend them. The universe is less than a second old, and it already contains the seeds of its own destruction. At some point, and the MCU is deliberately vague on when, a being called the Collector will describe what happened next. As the universe cooled and expanded, these singularities were forged, somehow, into 6 discrete stones, concentrated, bounded, made into things that could be held if you were powerful enough to survive holding them. This is how the Infinity Stones are born, not created by anyone, not crafted, condensed from the first breath of existence. For millions of years they scatter. They are not yet named. They have no bearers. They drift through the cosmos like seeds waiting for ground. Meanwhile, something else is waking up. The first entities of the MCU are cosmic beings operating at scales that make civilizations look like dust motes. The most significant of these, for the purposes of everything that follows, is Arishem, the Judge, a celestial. These beings are planet-sized, ancient beyond reckoning, and they have a purpose that sounds almost noble until you understand what it costs. The Celestials seed life. They travel to planets, implant dormant celestial embryos in the planet's core, and then wait. Wait for the intelligent life that grows on that planet's surface to multiply, because the living creatures that populate the world are, functionally, a battery. Their collective sentient energy feeds the gestating embryo below. When enough life has flourished, the embryo awakens, the planet cracks apart, and a new celestial is born. The world dies. Everyone on it dies. And the Celestials consider this not genocide, but genesis. The universe expands, the Celestials multiply, and so, in theory, does all life, because Celestials seed more planets, and the cycle continues. This is the program Arishem has been running for millions of years. It is cold, it is systematic, and it is the gravitational center around which most of the MCU will eventually orbit, even if that doesn't become clear until Phase 4. But before the Celestials get what they want, something goes wrong. Somewhere in the cosmos, a being called Null exists, and here the MCU brushes against a mythology so dark it barely fits in a universe built on heroism. Null is the god of the symbiotes. He predates the Celestials themselves, dwelling in the void that existed before light. When the Celestials first illuminated the universe, their light cut through his darkness like a blade, and Null, furious, fought back. He forged a weapon from his own living shadow, the first of what would become the symbiotes, a species of alien creatures built entirely from darkness and hunger. The Celestials eventually imprison him, sealing him at the center of a living planet made from billions of symbiotes, a prison called Clintar. But the symbiotes escape. They scatter. They travel the galaxy. And thousands of years later, some of them land on Earth. We will come back to this. The other cosmic event that defines this primordial era is the emergence of something the MCU calls the multiverse. The understanding that there is not one universe, but infinite universes, all branching from a single sacred timeline. The beings who govern this are called the Timekeepers, or so the story goes. We'll learn later that this is a lie, but the sacred timeline itself is real, and its shape determines everything that follows. There is one more figure from the earliest age worth naming. The Ancient One, the Sorcerer Supreme, who will eventually train Stephen Strange, draws her power from the Dark Dimension, a realm of eternal darkness ruled by a being called Dormammu. Dormammu has no beginning in the MCU's mythology. He simply is, infinite, hunger-shaped, a being of pure power who consumes dimensions the way fire consumes wood. He will reach for Earth. He will fail. But his shadow falls across this entire era. For billions of years, the universe expands. Stars form. Planets cool. And life begins to appear in forms that have no names yet, in civilizations that rise and collapse and are forgotten before humanity's evolutionary ancestors have climbed down from their trees. Let's talk about the Kree. The Kree Empire is one of the oldest spacefaring civilizations in the MCU. They are blue-skinned, some of them, at least, militant, hierarchical, and governed by a supreme intelligence called the Supreme Intelligence, which is not a person, but an artificial construct made from the preserved minds of the greatest Kree who ever lived. The Supreme Intelligence governs the Kree with a logic that is pure and merciless. What is good for the species is good. Everything else is irrelevant. The Kree have been at war with the Skrulls for hundreds of years. By the time any of our human characters exist, this matters enormously, because this war is the backdrop for everything that happens to Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. And understanding it requires understanding what the Kree actually did to start it. The Skrulls are shapeshifters. They can perfectly replicate any living being they touch. Anatomy, voice, memory fragments. This makes them terrifying to most species and invaluable as spies. The Kree, encountering them, didn't see a people. They saw a weapon. They saw a threat. And so the Kree began hunting Skrulls, not occupying their territory, not defeating them in pitched battle, hunting them, destroying their worlds, pursuing the survivors across the galaxy with no intention of negotiating peace. The Skrulls are refugees. They have been for a very long time before we meet them. Their civilization, their homeworld, their culture, their numbers, has been systematically reduced by a species that decided they were too dangerous to be allowed to exist. Talos is one of them. He will become important. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the Asgardians have risen. Asgard is not a planet, not in the way we usually understand planets. It is a realm, one of the 9 realms connected by a cosmic structure called Yggdrasil, the World Tree. These realms exist in proximity to each other in ways that bend normal physics, and they are connected by the Bifrost, an energy bridge that allows instantaneous travel between them. The 9 realms are Asgard, Midgard, Earth, Jotunheim, Alfheim, Vanaheim, Svartalfheim, Nidavellir, Muspelheim, and Helheim. Each is distinct. Each has its own ecology, its own peoples, its own history. And over all of them, since a time before recorded memory, the Asgardians have declared themselves protectors. This is not entirely altruism. Odin built an empire. The early Odin, the Odin before wisdom and loss hollowed him into something more careful, was a conqueror. He fought wars across the 9 realms. He expanded Asgardian power. He collected weapons and artifacts of terrible potency and stored them in his vault. He had a daughter before Thor and Loki, a firstborn, and her name was Hela, and she was everything her father made her. Hela was the goddess of death. This is not a title given lightly in Asgardian mythology. She was Odin's executioner, his weapon, the force that opened the path for his conquest of the 9 realms. She was extraordinary, terrifying, and completely devoted to her father's vision of expansion. She fought wars that left entire civilizations in ruins. She was the tip of Odin's spear, and the murals in Asgard's palace, before Odin had them painted over, showed her standing beside him, triumphant, the dead stacked behind her like monuments. Then Odin changed his mind. He decided that expansion was enough, that maintaining the 9 realms was nobler than conquering beyond them. Hela disagreed, violently. The specifics of what followed have been obscured by centuries of Asgardian myth-making, but the outcome is clear. Odin imprisoned Hela in a dimension called Hell, bound by his own life force, and erased her from history. He rewrote the murals. He told his sons they had always been peacekeepers. He built his legacy on a foundation of lies. But Hela is still there, patient, waiting. This happens thousands of years before Thor ever picks up his hammer. In this same early era, there is a war on Earth that most humans will never know happened. Approximately 5,000 years ago, a fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. Inside it, the Eternals, sent by Arishem himself, 10 synthetic beings, each built for a specific purpose. Ikaris the warrior, Circe the transmuter, Ajak the healer, Thena the fighter, Gilgamesh the strongest, Druig the controller of minds, Makari the speedster, Phastos the inventor, Sprite the illusionist, and Kingo the projector of cosmic energy. Their mission, as they understood it, was to protect Earth's intelligent life from the deviants, monstrous creatures also created by Arishem, that were supposed to cull predators and allow civilizations to grow, but which had evolved beyond their programming and begun hunting humans. The Eternals land. They fight the deviants for centuries. They protect the humans. They watch civilizations rise. They also contribute to them. Phastos helps with agriculture and early tools. The Eternals appear in Mesopotamia, in Babylon, across ancient human history. Their faces are in carvings and mythology. They are the origin of half the world's religious iconography. And they believe, genuinely believe, that this is enough, that they are here to protect. They do not know what they are really here for. They don't know that their mission is not to save the world, but to incubate it. That Tiamut, the celestial embryo sleeping in Earth's core, is nearly ready to emerge, and that every human life saved by the Eternals was another unit of energy fed to the thing below the planet's surface. They won't find out for thousands of years. The war in heaven that humans almost remember happened approximately 5,000 years ago. The Dark Elves, ancient beyond most civilizations, predating even the 9 realms in some interpretations, sought to use a weapon called the Ether. a liquid form primordial force later identified as the Reality Stone, to return the universe to the darkness that existed before light. Their leader, Malekith, came within a sword's reach of succeeding. Odin's father, Bor, fought him to a standstill. The ether was taken. Malekith survived by going into stasis with the remnants of his fleet, sleeping in the darkness between stars, waiting for the next convergence, the alignment of the 9 realms that would give him another chance. He will wait thousands of years for it. Then there is the matter of Thanos. Thanos is not ancient in the same way the Celestials are ancient. He is a Titan, born on the Moon Titan, a world that was once beautiful and became something else. Titan was a civilization of extraordinary sophistication, but its people bred faster than its resources could sustain. Thanos, born with a deviant syndrome that made him physically distinct from his people, looked at his world and developed a solution. He proposed what he called the random equalizer. Half the population, chosen at random, eliminated. The pain would be real, immediate, and over. The alternative, he argued, was slow extinction through resource depletion. Titan rejected him, called him mad, banished him. Then Titan collapsed anyway. Not in war, not through violence, through exactly the catastrophe Thanos had predicted. Too many people, not enough food. The civilization that exiled him destroyed itself with the very abundance he had tried to address. He watched it from somewhere else, and it broke something in him permanently. Thanos begins his crusade. He builds an army. He travels the galaxy. World by world, he implements his solution without asking for permission this time. He takes half, sometimes with weapons, sometimes with bare hands, always randomly, always with the conviction of a man who believes he is performing surgery on a dying galaxy. He is doing this for decades before Infinity War, planet after planet, race after race. The survivors of his work, the ones who don't curse him anyway, sometimes call him the most merciful being in the universe, because unlike disease or war or famine, his method is quick. Thanos finds this meaningful. It is one of the most chilling details in the MCU. He genuinely cares about the people he kills. He grieves them. In his mind, he is the hero of this story. He has always been the hero of this story. He will learn about the Infinity Stones. He will realize that with all 6, he could do what he has been doing, world by world, with a single act. Instantaneous, universal, complete. The greatest mercy ever granted to a suffering cosmos. He begins collecting. Let's come to Earth now. Because everything eventually comes to Earth. Earth in the MCU is a specific kind of special. It is not the most technologically advanced planet. It is not home to the most powerful species. Asgardians look at humans with the affectionate condescension of elder siblings. Kree scientists regard Earth as a biological curiosity, and yet planet after planet, galactic empire after galactic empire, everyone eventually ends up here. Earth has a gravitational pull on cosmic events that goes beyond coincidence. It takes until Phase 4 to understand why, and when the answer comes, it is not comforting. The earliest human story that matters to the MCU timeline begins around 1943, in a war already being fought by normal men with normal weapons. World War II is the crucible that creates the MCU's first heroes, and it does so in the most human way imaginable, through desperation. Steve Rogers is 5'4" and approximately 100 pounds, and has approximately 11 separate medical conditions that should disqualify him from military service. He tries to enlist 5 times. He is rejected 5 times. This is important to understand before anything else. The man who will become the most powerful soldier America has ever produced tried 5 times, failed 5 times, and tried again, because he believed, simply and absolutely, that it was wrong to stand by while others suffered. He wasn't brave because he was powerful. He was powerful because he was brave first. Dr. Abraham Erskine finds him at a recruitment fair in Brooklyn. He runs a program called Operation Rebirth, the United States military's attempt to create super soldiers. The serum he has developed amplifies everything the subject is. The physical, yes, but also the psychological. In a strong man, it produces strength. In a cruel man, it produces cruelty. Erskine chooses Rogers not because he is the best physical specimen, but because he is the best man. He knows what the serum does. He wants it in someone worthy. There is another candidate for the program. His name is Johann Schmidt, and he runs Hydra, the scientific division of the Nazi regime, elevated by Schmidt into something more than a weapons manufacturer. Schmidt is a true believer, not in Hitler's politics, but in something older and stranger. The idea that there are forces in the world beyond the understanding of ordinary men, and that he, Johann Schmidt, is destined to wield them. He already subjected himself to an early version of Erskine's serum. It amplified everything he was, and what Schmidt was, beneath the ambition and the intelligence, was something deeply wrong. The serum peeled back his face. He became the Red Skull. This is the first time in human history, at least knowable human history in the MCU, that someone attempts to use an Infinity Stone as a weapon. The Tesseract, a blue cube, ice cold, found somewhere in the Nordic territories and eventually hidden in Odin's vault on Asgard, before finding its way to a remote village in Norway. Red Skull finds it. He understands, somehow, that it is an object of limitless power. He uses it to power weapons, to build an army, to attempt to conquer the world in the name of something that isn't even Nazism. It's something more megalomaniacal, something older. Meanwhile, in New York, Howard Stark is helping run the Strategic Scientific Reserve, the Allied response to Hydra's supernatural weapons program. Howard Stark is brilliant, charismatic, and driven by something that is sometimes patriotism and sometimes ego, and is always genius. He will survive the war and build a company and have a son, and the space between Howard's love for that son and his inability to express it will echo through the rest of the MCU for decades. But in 1943, he is young, and the war needs him, and he shows up. Steve Rogers gets the serum on June 22nd, 1943. The enhancement takes seconds. The effect is permanent. He goes from 5'4" to 6'2", from physically fragile to the peak of human biological potential. The experiment is immediately sabotaged by a Hydra agent. Dr. Erskine is killed. Rogers chases the agent through Brooklyn and catches him, not because he's faster, not yet fully understanding his capabilities, but because he refuses to stop. For several months, the US military uses him as a war bond mascot. This is not what he signed up for. Rogers wears a costume that looks almost exactly like his eventual suit and sells war bonds to stadium crowds while actual soldiers die in Europe. It is humiliating. He accepts it because he is Steve Rogers, and he accepts what is asked of him, but it costs him something every time he takes the stage. Then he hears that Bucky Barnes, his best friend since childhood, the one person who always defended a 90-pound asthmatic from Brooklyn who couldn't stop getting into fights, has been captured by Hydra at a base in Austria. Rogers goes to Peggy Carter, goes to Howard Stark, and does something the army explicitly refused to authorize. He goes himself, alone, into Hydra-held territory. He rescues not just Bucky, but approximately 400 prisoners of war from a facility that no one sent a single soldier to save. He becomes Captain America that night, not because of the serum. The serum was weeks earlier. He becomes Captain America because he walked into a war he wasn't supposed to fight and brought the men home. What follows is 6 months of the most effective combat campaign in Allied history. Rogers assembles a unit called the Howling Commandos. Bucky, Dum Dum Dugan, Gabe Jones, Jim Morita, Jacques Dernier, and Montgomery Falsworth. They systematically dismantle Hydra's operations across Europe. They are extraordinary. They work because Rogers leads from the front, because he asks nothing of his men he won't do himself, and because he is, genuinely, the best soldier in the Allied forces. Then Red Skull, losing, decides to go for the endgame. Hydra's long-range bombers are fueled by the Tesseract. The Valkyrie is their largest aircraft, and it carries bombs designed to level American cities. Washington, New York, Chicago. Warheads powered by space itself. Red Skull plans to fly it himself. Rogers gets on the plane. He fights through the crew. He fights Red Skull himself, and Red Skull, reaching for the Tesseract with bare hands, is judged by it, transported, sent somewhere. We won't know where for years. The Tesseract falls through the floor of the aircraft, through the hull, into the ocean. The plane, without its pilot, without power, heading toward the eastern seaboard, will kill thousands if Rogers doesn't act. He points it at the ocean. He goes down with the plane. He is in the ice for 67 years. While Steve Rogers is frozen, the world he saved moves forward without him. Howard Stark spends years searching for the Valkyrie. He finds the Tesseract in the ocean, but not Rogers. The Tesseract he turns over to S.H.I.E.L.D. Rogers, encased in ice, his metabolism slowed to almost nothing by the super soldier serum, drifts in the North Atlantic. Howard starts a company. It will become Stark Industries. He becomes the most important weapons manufacturer in the Western world during the Cold War. He has a son in 1970 whom he names Tony, and he loves him in the way that men of his generation loved people, incompletely, through absence and instruction, saying everything important in language the person receiving it can't yet understand. Howard Stark is also a founding member of S.H.I.E.L.D., Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement and Logistics Division, created in 1949 by Peggy Carter and Chester Phillips in the aftermath of the war. The organization built to handle exactly the kinds of threats, supernatural, technological, extraterrestrial, that normal military doctrine has no answer for. Peggy Carter runs it with the competence and ferocity she brought to the SSR. She builds S.H.I.E.L.D. into something that matters. She also carries the loss of Steve Rogers for the rest of her life, in the way that you carry the loss of someone when you never got to say the things that should have been said. In the 1980s, S.H.I.E.L.D. conducts a mission in Siberia. Howard Stark's car is forced off a road. Howard and his wife Maria are killed. Hydra's Winter Soldier is responsible. The Winter Soldier is Bucky Barnes, captured after falling from a train in 1945. His left arm amputated by the fall, recovered by Hydra and brainwashed over decades into the perfect assassin. He has no memory of who he was. He is a weapon. He will be frozen between missions and defrosted when Hydra needs something done. The assassination of Howard and Maria Stark is one of those missions. James Rhodes will later estimate he carried out over 24 confirmed kills across multiple continents over 30 years. Tony Stark, 12 years old, finds out his parents have died in a car accident. This is what he is told. The truth that they were murdered by his father's old friend will remain hidden for another 30 years. The 1990s begin a new phase of the MCU's history. Earth is about to be introduced officially to the fact that it is not alone. In 1989, Hank Pym, one of S.H.I.E.L.D's most brilliant scientists, the original Ant-Man, a man who can shrink to subatomic size using particles he discovered himself, resigns from S.H.I.E.L.D. after learning they have been trying to replicate his technology without his knowledge. He takes the Pym particles with him. He locks the Ant-Man suit in a safe. He spends the next 2 decades making sure no one can recreate what he built. His daughter, Hope, barely remembers her mother. Janet Van Dyne, the original Wasp, went subatomic in 1987 to disable a Soviet UAE CBM. She shrunk beyond the quantum realm's return threshold and disappeared. Hank told Hope she died. He said nothing else for years because the grief made language impossible. In 1995, a Kree warrior named Vers crash lands into a blockbuster video in Los Angeles. She is Kree, she believes. She has been a warrior of the Star Force for 6 years, fighting the Skrull threat under the command of Yon-Rogg. She has no memories before those 6 years. This bothers her. It bothers her enough that when she starts to see flashes of a different life, a woman in military flight suits, a spinning plane, a child, a crash, she holds onto them like lifelines. Vers is Carol Danvers. She was an Air Force pilot. She was present when her mentor, Dr. Wendy Lawson, actually a Kree scientist named Marvel, working in secret to help the Skrulls, died in a crash, testing an experimental lightspeed engine. The explosion of that engine bathed Danvers in the energy of the Space Stone, the Tesseract, which Marvel had recovered from Howard Stark's collection. The energy didn't kill her. It transformed her. The Kree found her, extracted her memories, implanted a blood transfusion from Yon-Rogg that altered her physiology and told her she was Kree. She wasn't Kree. She was a human woman who had absorbed an Infinity Stone's radiation and survived, and the power this gave her was not subtle. She is, at full capacity, among the most powerful beings in the known galaxy. When she finally stops suppressing the inhibitor the Kree placed in her, when she finally lets herself feel what she actually is, she punches through a Kree warship. She meets Nick Fury during this visit to Earth. Fury is a young S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, still working his way up, not yet the director, with an eye patch and a network of impossible contacts. He is sharp, adaptive, and very good at reading situations. He adapts instantly to the revelation that there are aliens visiting Earth, and that one of them is a woman from Missouri who absorbed a cosmic energy source and can fly. He helps her find her past. She helps him understand what's coming. She also gives him a modified pager before she leaves to help the Skrulls find a homeworld. The pager can reach her anywhere in the galaxy. He is instructed to use it only in an emergency. He will carry it for 23 years before pressing the button. And before Carol Danvers leaves Earth, she inspires Nick Fury to do something. He sees her. He sees what she represents, a protector from beyond, someone who can go where human soldiers cannot, someone whose power operates on a different scale than anything S.H.I.E.L.D. has confronted. He starts writing a proposal. He names it the Avengers Initiative, after her old call sign, Avenger. The year 2010 is where the MCU's present tense begins in earnest. There is a man in a cave in Afghanistan, Tony Stark, billionaire, weapons manufacturer, genius, and the living embodiment of American military-industrial confidence, is captured by a terrorist group called the 10 Rings. This is important. The 10 Rings existed long before Tony Stark. They are one of the oldest organizations in the MCU's human history, and the weapons they carry, 10 rings, worn on the arms, predate recorded civilization. We will learn their origin later. For now, they are a context, a threat, a situation. Tony has a piece of shrapnel in his chest from a weapon bearing his own company's name. Stark Industries makes weapons. Those weapons end up in the hands of people who use them against American soldiers and against anyone else willing to pay. Tony has spent his entire career telling himself it doesn't matter, that the end product is freedom, that democracy is defended by superior firepower. In a cave in Afghanistan, chest torn open, surrounded by men who want him to build them a missile, he is forced to confront the chain of consequence his life's work has set in motion. He does not build the missile. He builds a suit. The first Iron Man suit is made from salvaged weapon components, powered by a miniaturized arc reactor that keeps the shrapnel from reaching his heart. Assembled in a cave under armed guard, and piloted by a man who has never flown anything in his life. It is crude, heavy, barely functional. He uses it to escape. He burns through the fuel. He crashes in the desert. He is rescued, and he comes home. He comes home and shuts down the weapons division of Stark Industries. He announces this at a press conference and watches his company's stock collapse, and watches his business partner Obadiah Stane look at him with an expression that will make sense later when Tony discovers Stane was the one who arranged his capture in the first place. Tony builds a better suit, then a better one. And then Stane steals the arc reactor from his chest, nearly kills him, builds a larger suit of his own from stolen designs, and begins a fight on a Malibu rooftop that ends badly for Obadiah Stane and badly for the rooftop. Tony Stark holds a press conference and announces to the world that he is Iron Man. He is the first person in modern history to publicly acknowledge having a superhuman capability, and he does it with the casual confidence of a man who has decided that the truth is simply easier than the alternative. Nick Fury shows up at his house afterward. He talks about the Avengers initiative. 6 months before Tony's cave, in a laboratory in Virginia, a gamma radiation accident of the kind that cannot be explained by workplace safety violations turns Dr. Bruce Banner into something the military calls an asset, and Bruce calls his problem the Hulk, a creature of pure rage, unlimited strength, green-skinned, 7 feet tall, capable of leveling city blocks by accident. Banner has spent years hiding. He has spent years controlling his heart rate, controlling his breathing, developing the mental discipline of a monk, all in service of making sure the other guy never comes out. He is in Brazil when the story begins, working in a bottling factory, living quietly. General Thaddeus Ross, who has been hunting Banner for 5 years, finds him. A chase through Rio. An accidental exposure to a weaponized version of Banner's gamma blood corrupts a soldier named Emil Blonsky, who eventually becomes the Abomination. Banner transforms. There is a battle in Harlem. The city absorbs the damage. Blonsky is contained. Banner disappears again. This is his permanent state for years. Exile, self-imposed, necessary. Every city he enters is a city that might get destroyed. He cannot afford to care about places or people, because the moment something threatens them, the other guy comes out. He will learn, eventually, that the other guy doesn't just destroy, that there is something worth integrating. That the Hulk, the part of him built from pure anger, is not the enemy of Bruce Banner, but a part of him that has been treated as a monster so long it became one. In Asgard, during this same period, a young prince named Thor Odinson is preparing to be crowned king. He is everything Asgard makes its royalty: confident, powerful, beloved. He is also arrogant in the way that people are arrogant when they have never been tested, when every battle has been won, when every enemy has been defeated, when no one has ever made them feel small. Thor has been told his whole life that he is destined for greatness, and he has believed it, and the believing has made him incautious. On the day of his coronation, frost giants breach the vault of Odin's weapons room. The incursion is repelled and minimal damage is done, but Thor, furious, insulted, unwilling to let it pass, takes matters into his own hands. He leads a small group to Jotunheim, the frost giant homeworld, for what he calls a confrontation, and what Odin would call an act of war. Thor is wrong. This is one of the few times in the MCU that the protagonist is clearly, demonstrably wrong before they have earned the right to be right. Odin banishes him. Thor falls to earth, stripped of his power, the enchantment on Mjolnir, ensuring it can only be lifted by one who is worthy, and lands in New Mexico. He meets Jane Foster, an astrophysicist studying atmospheric anomalies. She runs him over with her van twice. On Earth, powerless, Thor has to do something he has never done: fail. He tries to lift Mjolnir from the crater it made on impact. He cannot. He is held at a shield facility and cannot lift it, and has to be extracted by Loki, who has, as Thor is in New Mexico failing, discovered something about himself. He is not Asgardian. He is frost giant. Odin took him as an infant, the abandoned son of frost giant King Laufey, and raised him as his own without ever telling him the truth. Loki has spent his entire life as the adopted son. He has spent his entire life knowing, somehow, that something was wrong, and now he knows what it is. This breaks Loki in a specific way. He doesn't hate Odin. He loves Odin. He loves Thor. He has spent his life trying to earn something he was never told was already his. The rage this produces, the humiliation, the sense of having been deceived, of being an outsider in his own family, is the fuel that drives everything Loki does for the next several years. Thor earns Mjolnir back, not through strength, through sacrifice. He walks toward the destroyer automaton that Loki sent to kill him, powerless, and offers himself in place of the civilians in the town's path. That is the moment. That is what makes him worthy. The hammer returns to his hand, the power floods back, and Thor defeats the destroyer in about 4 seconds. He goes back to Asgard. Loki falls. The Bifrost is destroyed. Thor catches his brother over the edge of the void and holds him, and Loki looks up and says he could have done it. He could have been a king. And then he lets go. He falls into the void between worlds, presumed dead. He is not dead. Tony Stark, meanwhile, is dying. The arc reactor in his chest, which has been keeping him alive since Afghanistan, is poisoning him with palladium. He has been trying to find a replacement element for months, running through the periodic table systematically. His father, Howard, knew the answer. The model of the 1974 Stark Expo, which Tony eventually locates in storage, contains a hidden atomic diagram, a new element, smuggled in plain sight for a son Howard couldn't talk to in life. Tony synthesizes it. The poisoning stops. He builds a better suit. He also deals with Justin Hammer, a rival weapons manufacturer with none of Tony's talent and all of his ego, and a drone program, and even Vanko, who is the son of a Soviet physicist whose work was stolen by Howard Stark decades earlier, and who has built his own arc reactor and his own weapons, and has very specific ideas about making the Stark name mean something other than success. Vanko is defeated. Hammer goes to prison. Tony Stark survives. Nick Fury officiates. The Avengers initiative, he informs Tony, is moving forward. In a small town in New Mexico, a retired army general named Chester Phillips and an archaeologist named Jane Foster, and an Asgardian prince and a handful of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents have, without quite realizing it, made first contact with a civilization from another realm. But the world is about to become significantly more aware of what exists beyond its atmosphere. On another planet, the remote world of Vormir, there is a guardian of the Soul Stone. His name is Johann Schmidt. The Red Skull, transported there in 1945 by the Tesseract, has become something between a person and a function. The curse of the Soul Stone's location, the one who tells seekers what sacrifice is required. He will stand on that cliff for decades. He will not age. He will not leave. He will become exactly what he deserves to become, powerless, eternal, useful only to others' ambitions, watching the universe move without him. Steve Rogers wakes up in 2011. The serum preserved him. S.H.I.E.L.D. retrieved him from the ice. They construct a false environment to ease his transition. The Clone Wars, a room made to look like the 1940s, only on battlefields. A woman in period clothes, the Senate reading of the Galactic Republic, 1941. The legislative body that nominally governed the galaxy sees through it, housed in a vast circular chamber out of the facility into Times where thousands of senators and there is 21st century New York debated and he is 70 years out of time. And everyone one of the war's most important theaters is history, and the least visible one. Peggy Carter is 90 Chancellor Palpatine's consolidation of power through the Senate during the war years. Nick Fury is documented most explicitly. He tells Rogers in the prequels trilogy. Across, he says he has a mission 1, 2, Rogers 1, 3, and fleshed out across the Clone Wars animated series. The Avengers come together in the same process is described, and the way they come together tells you everything and in about what they are. It begins both continuities with Loki. The essential mechanism as Asgard is identical, but a state of ongoing emergency justifies ongoing delivered to Thanos powers, or more precisely, an ongoing emergency powers. Thanos is never revoked, who gives Loki permanent authority. Deliver the Tesseract. There were senators who resisted exchange. Loki receives Padme Amidala, the Chitara, senator of a species of mechanical organic the warriors, secret wife of Anakin Skywalker, to conquer Earth, was among the most vocal opponents of the Chancellor's accumulation of power with a blue gem. She helped later identified as the Mind Stone, the delegation of the Infinity Stones. In the war's the spear does something insidious. A coalition corrupts the minds of petition Palpatine to return the emergency powers he had been granted and restore the Senate's Loki authority. Uses it to turn Clint Barton, the petition, Hawkeye, shown in canon, one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s in episode 3. Revenge and a team of S.H.I.E.L.D. scientists into his was presented as an act of good faith. He comes through a portal at a S.H.I.E.L.D. facility and used it as evidence against takes the Tesseract. Senator Bail Organa, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s entire facility, a calm, steady man, Fury who would later be one of the founders of the rebellion that against the empire he was watching being built, was another member of this resistance. He watched the Senate vote Palpatine doing nothing every measure the Chancellor asked for, because there is and understood what it meant to do and could not stop it. Because the system, located served his entire political life, was now the instrument of its own destruction. Treats every briefing in canon, like a performance the most sustained examination. He's not worried about the Senate's politics during the war. Thor, who arrives through the character of Padme, because Loki is storylines across the Clone Wars address war profiteering, and Natasha Romanoff, deregulation, Black Widow, lobbying by the banking who has been with S.H.I.E.L.D. long enough to manipulation of planetary crises are exactly the sort of people she should never be. Quiet normalization of authoritarianism is still under the Mind Stone's influence. Nick Fury's storylines are not dramatic. In the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier's strategy room, they are procedural. That Loki is planning to open. They are the mundane machinery using how a democracy is hollowed out the Chitauri through. Not as an iridium dramatic moment that will stabilize thousands of small capitulations. He is moving towards Stuttgart, each one individually defensible. Rogers cumulatively catastrophic. Retrieve him. The Senate, there is a moment on the Republic's greatest strength and for 25,000 years, and you can see clearly the war turned it that they do not like each other. Its own replacement. Stark finds the day Palpatine declared the overrated an empire. Rogers finds he did it in the Senate and performative to applause, and they are both partially the institution that had governed the galaxy for millennia, because they will have voted itself out of existence because the man who had spent 30 years Loki cultivating its trust, Tony followed. Thor, Padme thinking he is taking his brother to account. She said they had lost their forest, where Tony fires already being Thor's hammer and produces a shockwave that flattens several acres of trees. Follow the Republic. Then Rogers puts his shield between them and absorbs because those are the forces that produce the most visible damage. There are arguments, but the war also disturbed older, the Mind Stone's influence, powers that had been dormant for generations, which resurfaced when the galaxy's attention was elsewhere. The Night Sisters of Dathomir fight were among the oldest Force traditions. Banner starts to lose control. On their homeworld, it's Natasha who pulls Barton, a dark, primordial fight that costs her real permanently overcast and works with wildlife because their relationship is enormous. Because she knows exactly where his dark side force can exploit them while on magic. Distinct from both Jedi and Sith traditions, but in the chaos, for thousands of years. In canon, he drops Banner out of the helicarrier, a documented, the Hulk emerges freefall in the Clone Wars, shield agent 3 and Phil Coulson, where their matriarch trying to stop the shaman mother Talzin, or rather, Loki serves as one of the series' most significant secondary antagonists, because heroes need a reason to stop fighting each other with Darth and start fighting the enemy. Predated the Clone Wars. The Hulk lands on a street in Legends. The full scope of this history is documented. He falls from the helicarrier and Darth Maul and the other guy pads the landing, which is also cast to fight in Class 22. And then Natasha has to take Maul from Dathomir as a child. Tony Stark sits separated Talzin Stark from the child she had watches Loki complete the portal mechanism. The wound between them, he confronts Loki and unhealed. Loki tries to use the Mind Stone, seeking a personal assassin. It doesn't work. The usual channels of the separatist military had visited Dathomir and commissioned a warrior from Talzin. He puts a suit on remotely and faces Loki directly. Ventress. Loki throws him off the building. Sensitive Dathomiran woman of extraordinary skill, Tony who became Dooku's primary agent for much of the Chitauri come through the portal. They are immediately among Ventress's origin, and her relationship to the Night Sisters is documented in the Clone Wars Season 3 arc, beginning what with follows Sisters is something remarkable. And in the canon novel Dark Disciple, the Avengers fight by Christy Golden, which novelizes they've produced Clone Wars not scripts, because they have protocol. When Sidious decided Ventress had grown because too in the powerful, moment of crisis, another violation of the rule of two. Another Rogers threat commands to his the ground control. Stark handles air. He ordered Dooku to have her killed. Thor takes the energy beam, Dooku powering the portal. Ventress survives a way to close the portal to Dathomir inside. Talzin Barton provides understanding that Sidious was eliminating and every element of her power base the team systematically with a gentle suggestion to get angry. She created Savage shows up on a motorcycle as a weapon transformed in a controlled way. A warrior taken for the first time Dathomiran bloodline as Maul. The Hulk takes down by Chitauri Leviathan with one punch. Given to Dooku, it should not be working for Ventress. These people hate each other. Was that Savage would destroy Dooku each of from within. At their core, it did not is willing to put the mission. Dooku was too powerful and too suspicious. Then Savage World Security Council. Sidious eventually came to Dathomir personally. Fires after Maul's return Manhattan had demonstrated that the Night Sisters were still a threat he had not eliminated. Tony Stark takes he sent General Grievous to destroy the Night Sister clan to the Chitauri fleet, an act of systematic extermination. The Chitauri, documented in the Clone Wars Season 4, all died simultaneously. Grievous killed almost every Night Sister on Dathomir in a single operation. Stark falls back through the closing survived through a powerless suit. She became temporarily the Hulk catches him, a ghost. The Avengers stand in the wreckage of the Park Avenue, conducting a campaign for one moment. Quiet, they are patient vengeance that didn't exist before, that would cost her everything she had taken back to Asgard. In canon, her Tesseract goes was shown in the Darth Maul, and a purple hand moves the camera back in the post-credits where she sacrifices herself to keep Maul alive, and the word dying at Grievous's hands. And this is the moment the entire MCU she had been one of the few individuals in the galaxy who had understood what Sidious was doing, and had actively worked to stop him. Years of consequences. She had fought without an army, Tony without Stark an institution, post-traumatic without any disorder. Of the structures the Jedi and the Senate had and lost. He builds suits at 3 in the morning. She had fought with what she knew, because building suits and she had lost only because she was outmatched. Makes the anxiety manageable. The galaxy she died in was darker by the precise measure the reaction to the wormhole and the void war's final weeks, and the nuclear 3 events were occurring simultaneously, and refuses to talk None of the people involved in any of them who loves him knew about and does not know how to reach him. The convergence was not coincidence. A man named Aldrich Killian, had been engineered, whom Tony dismissed at a party on the Mandalorian capital of Sundari, sending him to a rooftop where he waited for a conversation leading the siege of Mandalore. Commanding clone forces in the 300 biological enhancement program called troops who had painted their helmets in her face's markings. It also, in a gesture of loyalty, causes people in the context of what the heat of a volcano, one of the most brutal Killian weaponizes in the saga. He creates a fake terrorist called the Mandarin. Maul was captured, a media creation. It was, by any measure, a British actor, a decisive to divert attention from the extremists. On the separatist planet of Utah, the Vice President of the United States is involved, and located General Happy Hogan gets and was closing in. Tony's house is destroyed. This operation would end with Tony crashes in rural Tennessee, and the separatist command has a panic attack in a child's garage. Destroyed. This is the version of Tony Stark. Anakin Skywalker was learning the truth, not the one with the suit. Darth Sidious, the one in the garage, arranged to be talking to a kid named or appeared Harley, to be captured, working with General Grievous, trying to solve the problem without the armor. On the Republic, he is Iron Man that opened without the Iron Man. Revenge, and he is still in the Sith. He defeats Anakin and Obi-Wan were recalled from the Outer Rim to rescue him. He blows up the suits. Dooku the 42 of process all at once, killed by Anakin. Firework at Sidious's the instruction, because Pepper asked him apprentice to. Disposed of. He has the shrapnel once he was no longer useful. He doesn't Sidious was safely back in the Senate when he revealed himself to Anakin. He told Anakin has always about been the Sith technique. Thor returns to Earth for through the dark side to prevent death in London, to stop the ones you loved from dying. The Reality Stone, he told Anakin, this has found a host the ability to cheat Malekith put it away. He called it the tragedy years ago of Darth Plagueis, the convergence, Anakin's wife, the alignment of the 9 realms. Anakin had been having visions of her dying in childbirth from his long sleep. He had watched his mother die in his arms on Tatooine. What follows is a death he had been too late to prevent, and had responded by massacring an entire village of Tusken Raiders, Frigga, in a rage that has never been fully processed or resolved. Frigga was the vision of Padme dying of what Asgard had been pressing to the world for months. The one who truly raised did not make Anakin an offer, who loved him without condition, who told him a story, who taught him magic. He let Anakin's own desperation do the rest, not her charge. Mace Windu death breaks Loki led a team of 4 Jedi's earlier to arrest Palpatine. This breaking when Anakin revealed the Chancellor was a Sith Lord. Not rage, 3 of the 4 were dead within minutes. Pure loss. Windu disarmed Thor frees Loki and had him at his mercy. They go to Svartalfheim, preparing to kill him the realm Anakin of the Dark Elves, to draw Malekith. What happened next is shown in Episode 3. The plan requires Loki to appear to betray Thor. To give Windu raised the body of Jane Foster, Anakin raised the ether inside. He cut off Windu's hand. It almost goes wrong. Sidious, Loki appears to die. Stabbed by Anakin had crossed a line, saving which there was no return. And the moment is convincing, and he knew enough that the audience believes it. What he did next was not a continuation of a decision. There is no duplicity. It was the conclusion of a collapse that had been building for years. He doesn't die, of course. He knelt before He engineers his own apparent death. He accepted the name, takes the form Darth of a Vader, and eventually Sidious sent him to the Jedi Temple, Stonehenge. The inhibitor chips activated at a specific 5 converging realms. Every clone who received the signal, using special grenades that can punch through an override that suppressed their own judgment, takes Odin's and replaced it with a single imperative. Odin is still alive, killed, has been enchanted, left in an elderly human body in New York. That was the point of the chips. Hesitation required Loki judged on the throne of Asgard, the chips removed wearing his father's face. The clones killed because the chips told 4 years. And the chips had been there S.H.I.E.L.D. is before the clones were born. And Steve Rogers has been working for S.H.I.E.L.D. Doing canon, the moment of Order 66 trying to be useful is depicted in Episode 3. Born to. Revenge of the Sith something as a montage. The brief, secret, precise, devastating. The Jedi on a dozen compartmentalizes leading their troops in battle. The way information is kept from the people who cut down from behind. The way S.H.I.E.L.D.'s new director, Alexander Isla Secura, talks about security and language that sounds like control. He is right to be troubled. Over Cato Nemoidia. Hydra, each in the middle of something. It didn't die in 1945 when Red Skull grabbed the Tesseract and got transported. None of them given time to understand. It buried itself inside in canon. Shield. The event is expanded from the moment the Clone Wars was created. 7 Hydra, where it is shown from the perspective of Ahsoka Tano. They have spent 70 years simultaneously growing. Ahsoka was in the hold of a Republic cruiser when Rex received Arnim Zola, a Hydra turned on her, captured in 1945. She did what no Jedi uploaded his consciousness to do to a computer system. She survived the first moment. And then she found a way to remove Rex's inhibitor chip through the New Jersey for decades. Rex, free, the plan is helped her escape. Project Insight. They brought down the cruiser 3 and walked away from the wreckage, capable of targeting Ahsoka and eliminating buried her lightsabers in the snow, linked to an algorithm she did not want to might resist Hydra in the future. In Legends, and eliminate them. Order 66 is documented most extensively in the novel Order 66, The Order of Magnitude, a Republic Commando novel by Karen Travis. Hydra intends to kill the perspective 20 million clone as an soldiers move. Not the Jedi, every person who could possibly the clones resist killed them, and then offer the Travis refuses a choice to make between security and freedom. The clones knowing that people the order are not villains, always choose they are security. Beings who were made into Nick weapons Fury is without their knowledge or consent. He's not the horror of what they do. He fakes his death inseparable because Nick Fury is many of what was done to them, and one of them is paranoid. The Jedi Temple on exactly this was the other target. But he is Darth Vader, and he is out of the game long enough for the plan to advance. Hours after kneeling before Sidious, Rogers discovers the 500 First Legion. He finds his own clone unit. He follows the thread and killed everyone. He finds that the man who trained him, Romanoff, Knight, a shield veteran named Alexander Pierce, a group of young Hydra's most who had taken shelter in a room, and he finds that the Winter what they should do. He activated his lightsaber in the world. The 501st dozens of would later call this 6 decades, the Temple Assault, the most difficult operation they had ever executed. This is the thing that stopped Steve Rogers tactically, not the helicarriers. Difficult in the other way, not the revelation. These were the people Hydra. They had fought beside the Bucky for 3 years, because Bucky Barnes they did it anyway. The most important person. The chips Steve Rogers necessary has ever known for all of them. And Bucky Barnes some killed because they were ordered to being used as a weapon they trusted by the organization. Steve the distinction between those two categories defeat between the chip driven look his and the order friend in the face is one the Legends Republic Commando series. Rogers examines with particular care. Romanoff that has no Hydra's files, resolution, everything. The war ended in a single release to the internet at once. The Republic destroying Shield with secrecy. And Hydra's not everyone died simultaneously. Yoda, Grandmaster of the Jedi Order, the 900 years old, in the water below the crashing more Jedi than anyone pulls living, Rogers out before he drowns Sidious and then disappears. The Senate chamber and was forced to flee dead when the duel Hydra is exposed. He went into exile is looking for the world of Dagobah. Sam Wilson, where he would remain for 20 years. Rogers met jogging in DC. In canon, him. This is the aftermath at the end of Shield's collapse creates a power vacuum of the Sith. Tony Stark in Legends, Avengers, it is expanded across several sources. Romanoff's data dump has exposed hundreds of Hydra agents exactly, but capturing them all takes time. He went to Dagobah because Dagobah was the only place in the galaxy. They go to ground where they build new dark side virgins. They wait. Could in the meantime, his presence Tony Stark uses the shield not given up to find a weapon he was waiting called the Scepter. He was not sure Loki's spear with the Mind Stone on its tip had been on which Hydra has been experimenting Order 66 was the experiments have produced 2 survived humans because his clone commander's opening shots had a young man named Pietro or had been aimed to miss who moves fast enough to Legends time interpretations. And his sister, and he had been able to escape, who can manipulate probability, project force. He then confronted Anakin Skywalker. They volunteered on the lava world of because they had a reason, where Sidious, an apartment Vader to kill the Separatist Council. A shell fired. The duel on Mustafar is the emotional climax of the prequel trilogy. Stark, shown in Episode 3, they sat in the revenge next to their parents' bodies for 2 days, men waiting to die. Who had been master and student. And the second shell, brothers, the one that would have killed blood, never went off. Who had fought through the entire Clone Wars together. From that day watched forward, each other live and almost die 100 times. The Avengers raid the Sokovia now trying base to kill each other. They retrieve the scepter. Obi-Wan won. Tony gets the Mind because Stone he was more powerful. Anakin and Bruce powerful, working always 3 days what should take months. But because Anakin made an error of aggression intelligence and Kenobi had the high ground, and a lightsaber peacekeeping program called Ultron is not something a human body into the network surrounding the Mind Stone. Anakin burned on the bank of a lava river of armor around the world, took his lightsaber, Tony puts and walked away. They fail. They Sidious and go to celebrate minutes later. They didn't fail. He rebuilt what burned. Ultron wakes up lava in the middle of the party and placed it in the black armor, reviews all available data on humanity that would define it, concludes for the rest of its greatest threat is itself. He told Anakin, concludes that the Avengers are humanity's greatest defenders, technically true, and concludes she had died in childbirth of a machine weakened by the force choking she had received from Anakin. In his last, the correct solution for his own defeat is to remove humanity's greatest problem, or by a combination of both, Avengers, that the medical droids and then not categorized, with peace established Anakin's by their children, twins, humanity, a boy and a girl. He also decides just before she died needs a push. They were separated. He decides that evolution requires distributed to opposite ends of the galaxy. He finds the work of a man named Ultron. To look. Wait, the girl, Leia, he finds the work of a geneticist named Helen Cho, whose cradle technology Luke can build synthetic tissue from vibranium, and then to builds a stepbrother, Owen, a perfect body on Tatooine, made of synthetic tissue. Obi-Wan went to Tatooine and watched, powered by the Mind Stone, he watched for 20 designed years to house his consciousness. Ahsoka, Thanos, the Avengers interrupt him before the transfer is complete. Several other Jedi survived the initial purge. Transfers, some would be hunted down in years following to the body, some would endure the body, some would find ways to hide the Vision and teach. The Vision lifts Mjolnir at a party. The animated series Star Wars nobody makes a big deal documents of it, the ongoing Jedi hunt. Thor and the survivors who persisted through a suit can partially lift it, helped found Vision what would become like the rebellion. This established the Republic die that none of them understood immediately for, that the only path forward final was resistance. Sokovia. He had resources. He has excavated the bedrock and the quiet grief of a man who had served it with the vibranium his entire life and watched it destroyed in the city into the atmosphere and drop. The survivors were the seeds. The impact will trigger an extinction level. They would take 20 years to germinate into something capable of created by human hands. In the aftermath, the Avengers, it is easy to see the Clone Wars as a trick. Every civilian in the city, a manufactured conflict. They hold the platform aloft, a deception until as many on a galactic scale are evacuated that functioned as intended. Pietro dies, and left the galaxy conquered by the man who designed it. Wanda, feeling him go, is accurate, loses control. It is also and tears Ultron's drones apart with her bare Clone hands Wars in the middle of the street. A manufactured conflict. Nick Fury shows up with a helicarrier, suffered and died the city for real reasons. Ultron's last separatist grievances by Vision Dooku articulated were genuine. Sokovia no even longer if Dooku exists. Was a Sith Lord, the ground where it stood is a crater. The clone soldiers of thousands were real of survivors scattered across made Europe. In a tank, who developed real loyalties, Pietro and felt real grief. Wanda, the only one killed left, people they trusted, become a symbol because something had been placed inside them without their knowledge. But they have Jedi who died on a city to do it were people who believed in something. This is the price and tried to serve this it. Is what people were destroyed by an entity that the Accords come from Sokovia they serve. They come from New York. The manufacturer does not eliminate the reality Tony Stark's panic attacks led him to. In canon, and from a fight in Washington that brought down most seriously by the world's government's look at the Avengers, which in its final season, without accountability, 7 seasons and a film, they draft a document across more than a decade of production, requiring all enhanced individuals to register with the UN panel. It makes operate under governmental oversight, true, to be directed, not resolved, rather than self-directed. True. Tony Stark signs. The thing that was going to happen, he believes in it, happened. He has seen and what the people who survived us carried the weight of what had been done to them, and it nearly killed they had done and everyone around him, and none of it. He needs the ceiling. He wants the oversight. The same period Steve Rogers won't sign, and in some ways more explicit what government was lost with power. The Republic Commando series names the clone. He has been inside Shield with a specificity Hydra that no canon source. He doesn't trust the chain of command. The Dark Times chain of command and almost ended him. Document the period immediately following. He will not put the safety of the world with the same in the hands of a bureaucratic war itself deserve. They are both right. The galaxy that emerged from the Clone Wars rather than drama. Every population that had been under the Republic's protection because of had been reorganized under the Empire. Zemo is a Sokovia. With that reorganization, he lost his family in the same soldiers who had just executed the Jedi. He has no now stormtroopers He is a man who lost increasingly replaced by who had the intelligence as the clone age to identify the exact ran too fast foundation to sustain production and press it. The galaxy had been fighting a war. He frames Bucky Barnes. It now found itself occupied by the winner, T'Chaka. It had voted for it. T'Chaka's son, its Senate had, the Black Panther, the one man who had understood all of this. Rogers, who had seen the whole shape of it. The Avengers fracture along these lines, named Darth and then Zemo revealed long before the wars began. There were other by his own apprentice in his sleep, 5 while the election cryo below his window in a Hydra facility. He had spent his life building a dark Zemo claims capable of manipulating the midi-chlorians themselves and Stark of forcing the Force to generate new life. They find the Winter escaping death by hiding his consciousness in the living Force. Killed them before he had not anticipated that his apprentice would kill him before he finished. A recording Legends of the Night, the full account of Plagueis Maria Stark is documented in the novel Darth Plagueis. Tony watches his parents die on camera. In canon, watches Bucky's metal hand only crush Palpatine's father's tragedy of Darth Plagueis to Steve Rogers in episode 3 that Rogers Revenge of the Sith. He has known since the speech designed to manipulate Anakin. He knew who killed Tony's delivered in a theater and never told him. A performance played in the background is not a superhero theatrical act of seduction. It is a man whose parents are dead. And a man whose the tragedy of Darth is being beaten to death is not that he was killed and a third he finished his work, who is responsible the tragedy for all of it is that his work finished anyway, none of it in the hands of the apprentice who killed him. Zemo the Clone Wars were, in the end, the Avengers, Darth Plagueis' legacy. Peter Parker, the conflict he never lived to see, and has been built by political machinery he had spent decades constructing. When Tony Stark shows up at his by the man he had trained. Everything he built by a radioactive to destroy everything else and develop the proportional strength and agility the man he had trained. The ability to cling to surfaces and a biological ability 3 years of danger before it materializes. A generation of Jedi. He sowed his own million clone soldiers. He has been stopping careful 20-year preparation of a Sith. He has not told his Aunt May better than raised him after his ever served the dark side. And after Uncle Ben died 20 years. A mugging is the measure of it. Could have stopped. All of that didn't. The engineering, the event that made him understand the war, that having power, death means having responsibility for what you do. Because somewhere on a desert planet, Tony brings him to Germany for the airport fight, and somewhere Peter is in over his head and handles it better than anyone has a right to expect. The Clone Wars. He has never seen anyone else. What they had started before was not finished. He is visibly the complete arc of the Clone Wars. He is also a child Geonosis to Mustafar. From the first deployed sends him home to the last because he's ignited an Order 66 chip. Peter goes back to represents the most sustained act of coordinated destruction using the history of the salvaged from the Battle of New York. A civilization he fights the Vulture, 1,000 years in the makings. A salvage contractor whose business was seized the men who fought Stark's company fought for real after the Battle of New York. Loyalty and who has been building weapons from the lives of the soldiers beside them. The war that consumed crucially had no genuine father of the girl Peter is taking only to an architect. This what survived it was not the cruelest coincidence. The Jedi who lived Peter went on carrying what they had he seen. Turns down a spot the clones who retained their minds because he carried what they had done. Queens. The senators who had watched the Senate vote itself into extinction carried the lesson of what republics can be made to do when they are frightened. Is very Tony Stark of him. None of them could give it back. In the wider galaxy, none of them tried to pretend the cost had been worth it. Who goes by Star-Lord, the galaxy, though nobody else calls him this with sincerity and controlled and organized, has been operating as a Ravager since 1988. When he was abducted from Earth at the age of 8 that produced the rebellion. Mother died of cancer. The same suffering that the war left behind became the fuel he won't learn the truth of for years. The Clone Wars he leads ended a civilization. Gamora, the adopted they also planted the thing that would replace trained from childhood to be his weapon, desperate to escape in the hands of survivors who understood precisely what they had lost, whose family was killed by Ronan that it was gone forever, and who has committed himself entirely to revenge. Rocket, a genetically engineered raccoon-like creature who is deeply damaged and covers it with aggression and technical brilliance. Groot, a member of the Flora Colossi, who is 8 feet of tree creature and 3 words of vocabulary and more emotional intelligence than anyone else in the group. They are the guardians of the galaxy. They do not call themselves this at first. They meet in a prison, attempt to cooperate for money, fail to cooperate for money, almost die, and save an entire planet, Xandar, home of the Nova Corps. From Ronan the Accuser, who has obtained the Power Stone, one of the Infinity Stones, and intends to use it to destroy the Kree's enemies. Ronan underestimates them. He underestimates all of them. Quill holds the Power Stone in his bare hand. It should kill him instantly. The stone kills any being that touches it. He holds it for several seconds before his friends take his hands and share the burden. This is not a metaphor the film is shy about. His friends save him. Together, they redirect the stone's energy at Ronan and obliterate him. The Power Stone is given to the Nova Corps for safekeeping. It will stay there for approximately 4 years before Thanos arrives and destroys the fleet to retrieve it, killing half the Xandarian population in the process. The film does not show this. The destruction of Xandar happens between Infinity War's opening credits and its first scene. In Wakanda, a civilization exists that the world does not know exists. Wakanda appears, from the outside, to be a small East African nation. Agrarian, poor, unremarkable. This is deliberate. 5,000 years ago, a vibranium meteorite struck Wakanda. Vibranium is the most extraordinary material in the MCU. It absorbs and redirects energy. It does things no other material can do, and it is the core of Wakandan civilization, in the way that oil is the core of certain other economies. Except Wakanda developed it into technology centuries before the Industrial Revolution. Wakanda has skyscrapers behind a holographic facade of hills. It has hover ships. It has medical technology that borders on miraculous. It has vibranium-enhanced warriors, a tradition of combat, a royal family, and a ritual. When a king dies, anyone who wishes may challenge for the throne in ritual combat, a duel at the waterfall. T'Challa's father, T'Chaka, is dead. Zemo killed him. T'Challa returns home. He faces a challenge from Eric Stevens, an American Black Ops soldier who turns out to be Njadaka, the son of T'Chaka's brother Njobu, whom T'Chaka killed 30 years ago in Oakland when Njobu was discovered to be sharing Wakanda's secrets with arms dealers. Njadaka grew up in Oakland. He grew up in America. He watched the world outside Wakanda, and he drew a conclusion. Wakanda, with all its power, all its technology, has watched the world's suffering and done nothing, has hidden, has chosen isolation over responsibility. He is not wrong. His solution, use Wakanda's weapons to start a global revolution, conquer those who have oppressed, is wrong, catastrophic, rooted in the same logic of domination he claims to oppose. But his diagnosis of Wakanda's complicity is accurate. T'Challa knows it when he fights Eric and sees, in his opponent's fury, a legitimate grievance delivered in an illegitimate way. T'Challa defeats him, but he also opens Wakanda to the world afterward, ends the isolation, begins the work of engagement. This is the better victory, the one that matters longer. Thanos comes. He has the Power Stone retrieved from Xandar. He takes the Space Stone from Loki on the Asgardian refugee ship. Loki, with the last fragment of Asgardian dignity, attempts to deceive and then attempts to kill Thanos with a hidden knife. And it doesn't work, and Thanos kills him in front of Thor. And this is how Infinity War opens. There is no warm-up. Loki dies with his eyes open, his neck broken, Thanos' thumb on his throat, and Thanos saying, "No resurrections this time," because Loki has died before and come back. Thor survives, barely, found floating in space by the Guardians of the Galaxy. Thanos moves through the MCU with a certainty that is the most frightening thing about him. He is not in a hurry. He has a plan. He has operated for decades with plans. He sends his children, Proxima Midnight, Corvus Glaive, Ebony Maw, and Coal Obsidian to retrieve stones while he collects others personally. Vision has the Mind Stone embedded in his forehead. It is keeping him alive. Wanda Maximoff loves Vision in a way she has barely had time to acknowledge, and now she has to make a choice she cannot make. Bruce Banner has returned to Earth, arriving through Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum window, and the Hulk refuses to come out. The Hulk was beaten by Thanos on the refugee ship. The Hulk, for the first time, is afraid. He will not emerge for the rest of the film, leaving Banner to fight in a mechanical Hulkbuster suit, which is exactly as difficult as it sounds. Doctor Strange holds the Time Stone, the Eye of Agamotto, and will not give it up. He uses it to look forward in time, to examine 14 million possible futures. He sees one future where they win. 1 out of 14,405 possibilities. He doesn't tell anyone what he saw. The battle in Wakanda happens because Vision cannot be moved safely. Shuri, Wakanda's princess and scientific genius, is working to extract the Mind Stone from Vision's head without killing him. The procedure takes time. The armies of Thanos attack Wakanda while she works. The battle is enormous and brutal and ultimately irrelevant because Thanos arrives before the procedure is complete. He walks through the Wakandan army and through the Avengers. He fights Thor with 5 Infinity Stones and almost loses. Thor's new weapon, Stormbreaker, a battle axe forged at the dying star Nidavellir by the dwarf king Atri, driven by the power of a collapsing star, with Thor holding the beam because no one else can, comes within a few centimeters of killing Thanos. Thor buries it in Thanos' chest. He doesn't aim for the head. He says so himself. He wanted Thanos to feel it. Thanos uses the gauntlet. Half of all life in the universe disintegrates. The mathematics is precise, random, utterly indifferent. Bucky goes. Sam goes. Wanda goes. Just after she has destroyed the Mind Stone to keep it from Thanos. Just after watching Vision die by her own power. Only for Thanos to use the Time Stone to reverse his death and take the stone anyway. T'Challa goes. Peter Parker, at 17 years old, clings to Tony Stark and says he doesn't want to go, and then he's gone. Strange looks at Tony before he disintegrates. He says this was the only way. Thanos sits on a distant planet and watches the sunrise, and smiles with the satisfaction of a man who has done something hard and done it right and is finally finished. 5 years pass. The Avengers that remain, Stark, Rogers, Romanoff, Banner, Thor, Barton, Nebula, Rocket, War Machine, and eventually Captain Marvel, do not recover well. This is the MCU's most human thing, how they handle failure. Thor drinks. Romanoff keeps the networks running from a shield facility out of sheer refusal to stop. Barton, who lost his family, becomes Ronin. A killer, not a hero, hunting criminals in a world that suddenly has fewer law enforcement officers and far more crime. Rogers runs grief counseling sessions in a community center and talks about moving on and cannot move on. Scott Lang comes back from the quantum realm where he has been trapped since just before the snap. 5 years have passed outside. In the quantum realm, for Scott, it was 5 hours. This gives Stark, who has spent 5 years building a life with Pepper and their daughter Morgan on a lake, a plan. Time travel through the quantum realm. Go back. Get the stones before Thanos does. Tony solves the physics in the quiet of his lake house because he cannot not solve it once the problem is in his head. He drives to the compound. He tells Rogers he found Morgan when he went back. The time heist is elegant in its structure. 6 teams, 6 stone locations across time. Get in and get out. without being detected. Most of them work. 2 fail catastrophically. Gamora from 2014 comes forward. The Gamora before she helped the Guardians stop Ronan. The Gamora who has not yet turned against her father. And Thanos from 2014 sees everything through Nebula's neural network, because future Nebula and past Nebula share a system, and past Thanos sees the future through his daughter's eyes. He follows them back. Stark assembles the recovered stones into a gauntlet built from his armor. He looks at it. He knows what happens to a person who uses it. He uses it. He says the words, "I am Iron Man," which is where this all began, in that press conference in 2008, and snaps his fingers. Everyone who was lost comes back. Thanos' army is there, and they fight. Every Avenger, every Guardian, every Wakandan warrior, every sorcerer Doctor Strange brought through portals, all of them at once against Thanos and his full army. It is the largest battle in the MCU, and it is scored with purpose and directed with an understanding that this is not just a movie ending. It is 14 years of cinematic storytelling reaching its crescendo. Tony Stark dies on a hill in upstate New York. His arc reactor fails from the stone's energy. He is 53 years old. He has a daughter who is 5. He has done exactly what he promised himself he would not do, which is sacrifice himself, which is the thing he has been moving toward since he pointed a plane at the ocean in 1945. No, that's Rogers, since he pointed a missile at a wormhole in 2012. His funeral is held on the lake. Pepper releases his arc reactor into the water. The Avengers disband, not in failure this time, in completion. Steve Rogers goes back in time to return the stones to their places in history and lives his life in the past. He appears on a bench in old age. He gives his shield to Sam Wilson. The shield passes. The mantle passes. Something ends. What comes after cannot be understood without understanding what the snap and the blip did to the world. 5 years of half the population gone. Then, in a single moment, everyone back. 5 years older on one side, not a day older on the other. Marriages where one partner returned to find the other had remarried. Children older than their siblings. An entire world reorganized around absence, and then reorganized again by return. Peter Parker goes back to high school. His best friend Ned is still the same age. He takes a class trip to Europe and faces Mysterio. Quentin Beck, a former Stark employee who used holographic technology to fake elemental attacks and was building a career as a manufactured superhero for his own purposes. Beck dies. But before he dies, he releases Peter Parker's identity to the press. The world knows Spider-Man is Peter Parker. Strange performs a spell to make everyone forget. It goes wrong. The multiverse tears open. Villains from other universes, people who know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man from their own realities, come through. 3 versions of Spider-Man converge on a single night in a converted bridge to send them all home. This is the Multiverse Saga's opening act. The many worlds theorem is not a theory in the MCU anymore. It is a wound in reality, and something wants to climb through it. His name is Kang, or rather, he is a variant of the man the TVA calls Kang, a being who has mastered time, who understands the branching of the multiverse, who has seen versions of himself conquer entire timelines. He is the reason the sacred timeline was created. He is the reason variants are pruned. He, or rather, one specific variant called He Who Remains, built the Time Variance Authority to prevent other versions of himself from coming to power and destroying the multiverse in the multiversal war they know is inevitable. When Loki and Sylvie kill He Who Remains, the branches are released. Every timeline can now exist. Every variant can now emerge. The war that he who remains spent eons preventing is now coming. Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch, is looking for her children. In Westview, New Jersey, grieving Vision and alone, she accidentally broadcast a hex field over the entire town and constructed a reality inside it where she and Vision were alive and married and had twin sons, Billy and Tommy. She did this unconsciously. The power required was beyond any sorcerer in recorded history. She released the town when she understood what she'd done to its people, and the reality dissolved, and the children disappeared, and Vision dissolved, and she was alone again. She obtains the Darkhold, the Book of the Damned, a text of pure chaos magic. It tells her the children exist somewhere in the multiverse, in other timelines, with other versions of herself. She begins dream walking. She begins reaching across realities. She wants her children enough to destroy other universes to reach them. The war for the multiverse is not clean. It is not a single battle. It is a series of erosions. Strange's shattered mirror of possibility. Wanda's grief amplified to cosmic scale. Kang variants awakening across the timeline. A set of 6 stones that don't exist in this universe anymore, but exist in infinite other versions of it. Thor has spent the post-Endgame years with the Guardians of the Galaxy, trying to find his purpose. He has been through something, not just the snap, not just Endgame, but the destruction of Asgard, the death of his mother, his father, Loki, his friends, the loss of his home. He fights Gorr, the God Butcher, who is killing gods across the universe because the gods abandoned him, let his daughter die, ignored his prayers, existed in luxury while their worshippers suffered. Gorr is wrong in his methods and not entirely wrong in his diagnosis. Thor saves the children Gorr captured and takes his daughter Love as his own. Sam Wilson becomes Captain America, not as the replacement for Steve Rogers. As Sam Wilson, his history, his context, his understanding of what the shield has meant and what it can mean, taking a symbol and making it something the country has to reckon with. He fights John Walker, who took the shield first and used it badly, and the Flag Smashers, and a man named Zemo, who is also not quite wrong about the dangers of creating super soldiers. And he wins not through superior strength, but through the specifically human capacity to change minds, one person at a time. Hawkeye hands his legacy to Kate Bishop. The Falcon hands his legacy to Cassie Lang. The chains of mentorship extend. The universe keeps producing people worth protecting, and people willing to protect them. The 10 Rings, those ancient weapons worn by Xu Wenwu for 3,000 years and never fully explained until Shang-Chi removes them from his father's dead wrists, turn out to be something beyond human science. They are alien in origin. And at the film's end, Carol Danvers and Bruce Banner and Wong analyze them and discover they are broadcasting a signal to somewhere, to something. The signal has not yet been answered. There are Celestials still out there. The plan they have been running for billions of years continues on other worlds. The Deviants are not all dead. The MCU's creation myth is darker and larger than any of its heroes yet fully understand. Multiverse variants of people we know are not always the people we know. The TVA prunes branches. Pruned branches go to the void, a space at the end of time where Alioth, a temporal monster, consumes everything. Things survive in the void. Strange things, dangerous things. Kang variants who were smart enough to hide. The multiverse war has not started yet. It has begun to start, the way conflicts begin, slowly, and then all at once. Here is what 14 billion years of fictional history comes down to. A man in a cave builds a suit not to escape, but to do something with what he's been given. A soldier who can't win a fight walks into it anyway, because walking away was never an option. A king discovers his father's silence was a kind of lie and builds something truer in its place. A god learns that the hammer is not the power. A guardian of time watches every possible future and chooses the one that costs the most because it's the only one that works. The MCU is not a story about extraordinary people. It is a story about what ordinary choices look like when they are made by people capable of extraordinary things. The Infinity Stones, the Celestials, the Kang variants, the multiversal branching, all of it is backdrop. What the story keeps returning to in every film and every series is the same question. What do you do with what you have? What do you owe to the world that made you? When the cost of the right thing is everything you are, do you pay it? The answer the MCU has given 14 billion years into its telling is always the same. Yes,